Okay. And then I'm going to give an introduction of myself, which will make it so that this will make more sense. My name's Michael Buck, and I worked at Family Search for 15 years. And so I have that experience, but the reason that I'm able to talk intelligibly about AI is because I went and received a degree from BYU in computer science. And my master's thesis was actually on AI in 1988. So a lot of things have happened since 1988, but the things that are going on in AI are all really no different than they were in 1988. It's just taken that long to get them to the forefront to where we're now hearing about them. Okay. And actually seeing products that we can use that support AI. So it's going to be a fun discussion tonight. I promise to make it fun, but I'm going to do this backwards. I'm going to ask now to see if you came with any specific questions that you wanted to hear about, and I'll make sure that we get them covered either during the course of the presentation or at the end. So rather than wait till the end to ask questions, do you have any now that you would like to ask? Burning questions about AI.
How reliable is it as far as Family Search and Ancestry?
I will talk about that in the presentation. I'll actually have a slide that shows you some things about that, and we'll talk a little bit about the reliability of the data that you get from AI. Okay.
How far off are they from having AI efficient enough to read cursive writing?
I'm going to actually show you that too. I've got a slide that shows that. So that's a good question. It makes mistakes, but it probably doesn't make any more mistakes than humans do when they are doing indexing. You know, people doing indexing make mistakes too. And I've got a slide that shows some a document that was indexed by AI with the corresponding text. And you can, I'll point out some things that are correct and or that are wrong that you'll notice in there. Other questions? Okay, let's dive in. This will be fun. This is what we're going to talk about. We're going to just talk about what AI is. We'll talk about some basics, and then we're going to talk about some of the common things that we can actually go out and use in online and some tools that are available. We're going to talk about different types of AI, and this is not going to be a big technical discussion about the internals of how AI works as much as it is, I want you to be able to see things that you will recognize in your current lives that are using AI that maybe you didn't put those dots together and recognize as AI. And we'll talk about them when we talk about the types, okay? And then we're going to talk about some of the ways in which AI is currently being used in Family Search. And I've got a couple of slides that show some things that you can do with AI and without AI, and you can kind of see the difference on what AI can do. So it's going to be that'll be kind of fun. Okay, so what is AI? Well, artificial intelligence, but that almost sounds like responsible teenager or military intelligence. You know, you wonder if it's an oxymoron, because how intelligent can something that's artificial be? But you kind of get the idea, it really is. Now, another thing that is often talked about, and you hear it in the news, is this question: is AI bad? Okay, how many think it's bad?
Two-edged sword, isn't it?
Okay, it is a two-edged sword. Yes, just like any technology or any online thing that we deal with, there are good, positive uses of it, and there can be some nefarious uses of it. And I'll show a couple of those that as we go along in how those work. I found this morning, and I got a good chuckle out of this. So I thought you would be amused by that just because, you know, there's so much buzz about AI, and yet at the same time, maybe we should take a look at what we currently are dealing with in life and see if we can't do a better job of that before we start worrying about creating artificial intelligence. Okay. How do computers work? In order to understand AI, it probably would behoove us to understand a little bit about how computers work. Computers are really dumb. They only do what the engineer tells it to do when they do that. Now, that was my occupation for many years, is writing software to tell computers what to do. I had a lot of fun doing that. But there's a couple of interesting things to note. Computers only understand ones and zeros. You've probably heard that before. But as an engineer, you write software in and have you heard this, programming language? Okay. And there are lots of programming languages out in the industry, and software engineers write software in these languages. And then there is either an interpreter or a compiler that takes that language written information and converts it into the ones and zeros that the computer really understands. So in order to have that compiler, somebody needs to teach the computer how to process that language. Okay. Now, what programming languages have you heard of? Okay, there's one called, back in the early days, there was one called BASIC, one called COBOL, one called, there's current ones, Java. One that was used for many, many years was one called C, as in A, B, and then C. Apparently, there were actually languages that were called A and B, but they didn't get good until they got to C. So that language worked for a long time. And so these are languages that computers have been taught to be able to process. And that becomes a really interesting thing because they give you the basics within the computer to be able to ask and answer questions. So just for example, you do this probably every day, but there's a computer out there when you're running software that says, if my bank balance is below zero, send out or charge this account a fee, right? So simple if, then, else type questions are the basis behind how computers are taught to work. Now, you can call it AI if you want, but basically you've already, just with a simple application, have taught that computer to be able to do an awful lot. And all AI is doing is taking that a step further and trying to give it a little more smarts to be able to do additional things. Does that make sense? So there's things that computers could do back in the 60s and 70s that might even be classified as AI. It turns out that the first AI efforts actually began in the 1950s. So it's been around a long time. It's just taking a long time to get us to where we are today. Now, I'm going to give you an example right up front here. And this is with a common tool. We're all familiar with Google, right? Well, when you go to Google's page and you type in some information, what does it give you back? Okay, it gives you back a list of websites that may have the answer that you're looking for. And then you have to go down one at a time and click on them to go to that website and see if that website has what you're after. Okay, so that's how Google works, is that now we have to also understand something else. And this is gonna help us understand AI. How is Google able to do that? Okay, in order for Google to be able to put that list up, what they have done is they have done what's called crawling the entire internet. They go from address to address, seeing if there's a website there. If there's a website, it accesses as many pages and links on that website as it possibly can. And it's just doing nothing but gathering information. And if that information happens to be all about shoes, then it creates those indexes on shoes so that when you type shoes in the Google list, then it can take you to that website that's got shoes. So that's how it works, is they've indexed the internet. That might sound ominous, but they've gone out and looked at everything they could find on the internet, and they've indexed it, just like we do indexing for records within Family Search, so that you can do searches at Google and find what you're looking for. Okay, now let's take a look at, and the example I'm going to use here is ChatGPT. Okay, that is an AI tool where you can go to it and ask questions, just like you can ask Google questions. And in order for ChatGPT to give you an answer, they've done exactly the same thing that Google has done. They have huge amounts of data. Now, they may have gotten it in a little different way. They may not have crawled the internet for it, but they've been given a whole bunch of information. And then they are able to give you answers. So if we look at what Google does, I put in a search looking for robot lawnmowers. Okay. So it came up with what we would expect, right? A list of options that I could select about robot lawnmowers. And note that in my search, I put robot lawnmower reviews. I was interested to hear which ones would be better than others and those kinds of things. Okay. Now, I put in the same search into ChatGPT and look what it gave me. And I can't give you the whole thing because it was quite long, but it gave me a list of them and told me the pros and cons of them and gave me a lot more clear information about giving me reviews of robot lawnmowers. Okay, you can see that it gave a pretty thorough, you can read the one, I don't know if you can see it that far, but it gives a lot better information. So what can we learn from this? We actually have two tools that might give us good information. Google might give us information if what we're looking for, and we need a list of places maybe where we can buy something or something like that. But ChatGPT, if you have a question, they don't give you a list, they give you an answer. And so sometimes that may be a better tool. Now, does Google have all the correct answers? No. Does ChatGPT have all the correct answers? No. They will be about the same in their reliability because they're probably working off much the same data that they've gathered up from who knows where. Okay. Now, here are a list of some of those common tools. Okay, ChatGPT is done by a company called OpenAI, and it is great. That's the tool that I use that works great for getting answers to questions. Okay, DALL-E is also by OpenAI. How many of you have used AI to generate a photo, generate a picture? Okay, it's kind of fun to play with. Okay. That's what it is it's an image generator. And I've got an example of that. Google has a new AI tool called Gemini that does both answer your questions and will generate images if you would like. FreePix is an online one that does the image generating. And then Microsoft has done one as well called Copilot that will answer your questions. And the Gemini and Copilot and ChatGPT work very much the same way. Okay. Now, I talked a little bit about the fact that computers can understand a language and a programming language. Well, there has been a lot of work gone in much the same way that a computer can learn and understand a programming language. It can understand a regular language like English. And so there's a lot of work going in to, and this is kind of the basics of AI, to be able to have interactions with AI in a natural language. So when I go to ChatGPT, I don't just type in keywords, I type the question just as if I was asking another human being. And it does the language interpretation and puts that all together. And then it goes out and finds the data. And then it does the reverse. It takes the data and puts it back into English so that I can understand it and do that. It's a great tool. And so the fact that we've got natural language processing is a key element, I think, in why AI has become as valuable as it is becoming. Okay. Now, the picture on the right is a photograph. The picture on the left was generated by AI. And I'm going to ask my wife, how well do you think the picture on the left looks like Annie, our dog?
Pretty close.
It's pretty close, right? Not exact.
Not that.
I tried several times to tell it that it was giving me an image that was too dark.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get the AI generator to lighten it up. Okay. Now, when you're, what's that? Are pretty good, right? Well, this is the text that I typed in to get that image. And it's pretty simple. Most of the image processors where you get AI generated images want to deal with what they call an image prompt. And this is just text that you type in that describes what you want the picture to be. Okay, now that, have you had a chance to read that? I'll go back and let you look and see what it did. Now, it generated some really goofy pictures of something that didn't even look like a dog, the few. So I had to play with it to get this one. But when I got this one, I thought it was pretty good. Okay. Okay, let's talk for a minute about the types of AI. And these are not things that you need to remember. They're just reference points. It's kind of like fields in medicine where you've got, surgery and you've got brain. I can't even name the different fields within the medical industry. Well, within AI, there's getting to be a lot of different types of things that they specialize on certain things. Okay. The important point is for you to recognize places where this AI is already being used and you may be using some of it. Okay. So reactive machines, they don't store a lot of data like ChatGPT does, but they can be given a set of rules and then they can operate based on those rules. And so you've heard of the IBM's chess AI tool that they created that actually beat the human champion. That was based upon this AI system, and that's that type of AI. Okay, limited memory. You've heard of Tesla's self-driving cars. That's all based on this type of AI, where they use historical data and cameras and things like that, and they put that all together. Self-correcting functions. Okay, that was what my master's thesis was on. I designed a system that would take a network and traffic has to get from point A to point B, but if the path that it would choose to get there was for some reason clogged up, that it could correct itself by choosing an alternate route. So that is this type of AI where it can figure out how to do things like that. Okay. Narrow AI, and I don't know why they call some of these this way, but this is the most common one that we see today. And if you've used Siri or Alexa in your house, that's AI. And they are using that natural language processing so that you can talk to it and it can talk back to you. But they are trained to perform specific tasks, and they have certain data that's available, and then they can give you that data back. Okay. And you've also are familiar with facial recognition systems are included in that. Okay. Generative AI is part of narrow AI. It's kind of a subclass of narrow AI. And this is where you train and gather a bunch of data, and then you train the system how to use that data. This is where ChatGPT and these tools that I showed you earlier, how they work. I do want to mention here deepfakes, and you've heard of this in the news. Deepfakes is where they use AI to, for example, impersonate me. They can impersonate my voice, they can impersonate my actions, whatever they want to do. You've seen them impersonate people's photos. and try to fool someone into thinking that that's the real person that's done something that they really didn't do.
Seen some of it online.
Yes. So those are called deep fakes. That's where that term came from, is that they're trying to fake you into thinking it's something that's real that it's really not. Okay, expert systems also falls under the category of narrow AI, but its whole goal is to try and emulate the decision-making of an expert. Now, as a college student, when I was studying AI, I actually worked with another student on a project that we did for a doctor. It was a dermatologist, where we actually built one of these medical diagnosing tools using AI tools. And that was quite fun. And he actually used it in his office for some period of time, this project that we did for him while I was in school. And you've seen knowledge bases that you've used online, right? Where you go and all of a sudden there's this knowledge base and they want you to interact with that instead of a real person so that they don't have to pay someone to do that. Okay, the last three types of AI that were on the list are these three here: theory of mind, self-aware AI, and general AI. They are nothing but currently but pipe dreams. Those are what people are now saying, okay, we can do this much. Can we actually get computers to do these other things? And it's all theoretical at this point. There's not anything that is real in any of what they're doing. Kind of hard to mimic someone's emotion or cognitive ability there. So those are the tough ones. And I'm sure that there's people working on seeing if they can do it, but we don't have anything just yet. Okay. Now we're going to come back and look at another example just to see how well we think AI can do. So I typed this phrase into ChatGPT. Okay. That's pretty simple, right? And this is where we can talk also about, is AI good or AI bad, right? Because you've probably heard in the news or even in the community where students are using ChatGPT to write their term papers, right? Which is being dishonest. They're not doing the work themselves. So that's a bad use of it. I wouldn't recommend doing this. I'm just giving it as an example to show you how good it can do. Okay. So I decided I needed a 3-minute talk. I wanted it on faith. I wanted it church leaders. This is what it produced. Okay. And if you read this, you will see that it could be, it is a reasonably well written talk. Okay, when you get to the end, I've got the rest of it on the next slide, so I'll show that to you as well. And just scan through it and see if you see anything that looks wrong. Okay, are you ready?
Send that to me.
You're good to go? Okay. Anybody not ready? Okay, so there's the rest of it. Okay, let me get this out of the way. Oops. Oh, rats. So it obviously knows about the content of the Book of Mormon. It knows where there's places in there that talk about faith. It knows about early church leaders. Okay, so not much wrong with that, is there? So it can be really tempting, and you can see why there are students that want to use ChatGPT as a easy way to spit out a term paper, and hard for a teacher to try to detect whether the student did it themselves or whether an AI tool did it.
Just out of curiosity, if you ask it the second time, the next day to do the same thing, how different would it be?
Great question. I'm not sure. Okay, Keith?
You have stuff that can go and tell you if that's been plagiarized or copied or whatever, then it's quoting the Book of Mormon, so yeah.
The Book of Mormon is the Book of Mormon, right? Okay. Okay, so we're gonna shift gears a little bit and talk about where AI is used in Family Search. And these are just a few of the areas, and I'm gonna show you a couple of examples of where that has been done. This is probably gonna mess up the slide again. Okay, so the first example that I'm going to show you is that new help system that's called Family Search Helper. And if when we get done, I'm going to actually go out on Family Search and show that to you because you can use it today. It's kind of hidden, and I'm going to show you where it's at. There's and also the full text search. I think in some of the information that I found, there are literally billions of unindexed records, and they have concentrated on these that are listed here, the US land and probate and the enslaved individuals. They've got about 100 million set up to where AI can index them and you can actually go look at them. Okay. So let's look at the first one. This Family Search Helper, just like the other AI tools, they fed it the information, the training of all of these family search places so that it has all the data that it needs to give its answers. Okay. Now, you're probably used to a screen that looks something like this. Okay. This is the regular Family Search Help. And I typed in how to add grandma to my tree. And it came up with 3,838 results that match, and I obviously couldn't list them all, but you've all seen this before, right? Where and it may not even be Family Search, but where you think you ask a simple question and all you get back is this monster list of possible results. Okay. Now, with the new system, I asked the same question. How do I add grandma to my tree? And what did it give me? Step-by-step instructions on how to do it. Okay, so do you remember my Google example where I did a search in Google and it came back with a list of results for the robot lawnmowers? But when I asked it to give me a review in ChatGPT, it gave me the answer. And that's what's happening here, right? It's giving me a step-by-step how-to in order to be able to accomplish the task that I'm trying to do. Okay, this is the one where, and it's doing the automatic indexing. And Chris, I don't know if you've seen this one before, but this is a deed record that has been indexed by AI. And I just did a search on Leonard Buck, my second great-grandfather, to see what it would find. And it found this record of him, and it's got the information about him being given, showing that he's adopted by Hezekiah Miller, and that he's been given land by his adoptive father. So that's all in this indexed record. Now, one of the things, the important, yeah, there's mistakes in here, and I'm gonna point out a couple of them here. Okay. Now, one of the things that's important to note is that the terms that I used in my search, and I'm going to take you to and show you this tool so that you can use it yourself. But when you go to this tool, and you type in your search terms, and you can give it some things to search on, and you can give it names, and you can give it some dates. And I just typed in Leonard Buck, and I think I typed Albion, New York, because that's where he was born, or was the beginning of his life. And so when this tool comes back with the results, it shows you the highlighted words that you searched on, where they're found in the original written text and in the result that it found. Okay, so you can see that down here it says Leonard Buck, and it in the text that it produced was Leonard, and it came up with something else. So there's a mistake right there. Okay, this is the top page of the next page of that. And you can see here that it missed Leonard, but it did get the Buck. And so there's Leonard Buck. What's that? Okay. So, but you can see from the written text and from what it did get, it's probably easy to point out the mistakes, but let's also look at everything it got right. Right?
Hard to read. Anyway.
The text in that is hard to read. So that's just part of what it is. And it's important to understand that AI is not perfect, but it can be a great tool to help us with a lot of things that we do every day, in addition to things that we do in Family Search. Okay. I'm going to open it up for questions again, and we'll see if we answered the ones that you asked at the beginning. And if you've got more, Keith.
When it does that, it finds out that even though it's not correct, can you edit it and make it correct?
The text. They took a long time in Family Search, just getting the ability for you to go in and edit indexed records generally, right? So I don't know if you've done indexing, but it took a long time. You know, you could see something and see that somebody had indexed it wrong, and it just kills you because you wanted to go change it. And they finally got it to the point where people could go in and edit those indexed records. So I suspect that depending upon when this tool becomes mainstream, I'm guessing that they will have ways in which you can edit it at some point. Because they've got the original and they've got the transcribed text, and they want that text to be as right as they can. I would assume that they would make it available for people to edit. Okay? Yeah, other questions? Okay. All right, let's take a minute. And I'm going to, this is probably going to mess up the screen sharing because I just killed the window that it was screen shared in. So I'm going to tell it to share this screen, and we'll keep going. And I'm going to that out of the way. We'll close the presentation. It did it again. I need to share my browser. Okay. Is there something we could type into ChatGPT that you would be interested in knowing? I did one just earlier, or it was like yesterday or the day before, where I was curious. I'm trying to grow cantaloupes in my garden, and one got picked. And so my question was, will cantaloupes ripen after they're picked? You know, bananas do, there's tomatoes do, lots of fruits do. I just didn't know whether cantaloupes did. So I typed that in. I can't see that. We're going to have to. Okay. And again, natural language. Did I spell it wrong? Okay. Okay, I'm going to answer your question with this because I asked this question the other day and the answer I got was slightly different. Not only did it give me the information that it has in that first paragraph, but it gave me some recommendations on when to pick and what to look for when it's time to pick so that you get them properly right. And I thought that was helpful as well.
Do you just, how do you get into ChatGPT? Do you go to Google and ask for that or?
I can show you, it's just a website. And it wants you to sign up with an account. And the reason that it wants you to have an account is so that it can keep track of the things that it has done for you. If you look over here on the left, you'll see there's the talk on faith that I did. Here's the one that I did for using those images. Here's my robot lawnmower review one. And then I did a little one. I asked AI about AI. That was a fun one. So it keeps track of those for you, and that's why it wants you to have an account. Okay. Yeah, I'll show you before I go. Okay. Having to kind of go back and forth here. Okay. In Family Search. This thing's getting annoying, being in the way. When you sign in and you go to the opening page, this should look familiar. And I can go to my tree. I can do all the things that I'm used to in Family Search. If you scroll down and look on the right-hand side, okay. Okay, and you have to scroll quite a ways down here. You're going to see this thing called Family Search Labs. Okay. And then a link here, a button to push called View Experiments. If you click on this View Experiments, it's going to take you to their available experiments. Now, keep in mind, they're doing this and you can see this button over here on the left that says feedback. They want you to play with this stuff and they want you to give them feedback. So don't be bashful about giving them feedback if you want to play with this. Okay. This is kind of a cool feature here. It doesn't have anything to do with AI, but it's the ability to have shared trees in Family Search so that you can have your whole family access to your tree, your part of the tree, and without all the limits of I can't see my siblings and all this other stuff. It kind of works around that. So that's something you can try. Okay. You're familiar with the new app called Together by Family Search. That uses some AI tools to help do some things. You might want to install that one and play with it. Okay. And then here's the one about help right here. And if I click on try it, it takes me into the this new help system today. And it's just a new help, but it has access to all this information. So this is what I did, and you can see it's generating the response just like a ChatGPT would, and there's where it gives me the steps. So you can go use these tools that are in this labs area today. That's what I did in getting ready for this. Is there something else you would like some help on? And we'll just see how smart it is. There's a basic question, right? Okay, again, it gave several different options on what to do there. So just like typing questions into ChatGPT, you can type questions into this help system. You can use your natural language, just what do you want to know? And then it will give you answers just like hopefully that you will understand and will work for you. Okay, any questions on this one? Again, this is just the Family Search Helper AI tool that they've put together. Okay, let's go back to the and again, they're begging for feedback if you have feedback that you want to give them. Okay, let's go back to here, and I'm going to go, here's the full text search. Okay, and you can see that this is experimental and it's may not be available. They're still working on things, it looks like. Well, yes, it's in their labs thing. It's not built into the product yet. So you can go here and use it, but it's kind of a beta-like thing. And you can see what should we search for? Let's go find a document. Let's have a name. Anybody? What's that?
Won't find that. It's too hard.
Try it.
What's the name?
Timothy Downing from Ireland.
Timothy.
Downing, D-O-W.
Oh, Doubt. There's no and. Oh, anyway. Okay, place.
Cork.
Ireland, where? Cork.
Cork, Ireland.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay, there's Cork County, Cork, Ireland. Does that work?
Yeah, it's a town.
Okay, years.
1860.
Two.
Maybe we better go, because he came here by 1860, so let's do 1840 to 60.
Okay. See anything in here that looks interesting? See, these are probate records, deeds, those kinds of things. The first one. So if I click on this one, and again, I just clicked on the heading, and what it does is that it puts up the original document on the left side, and I can zoom that in and it's highlighted all of our keywords, right?
I think
Okay.
that's just so fabulous.
It got, see how it got Timothy out of that? Here's a document signed by Timothy Downing. Now, have you seen this document before?
What is it?
Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Might not be that.
Timothy Downing of New Bedford in the county of Bristol, state of Massachusetts.
Is that where he came into the country? No. Probably not him, but that's cool, but it does not.
Okay, so let's go back. But you see it found a few images too.
Quite a few to go through. It's just unbelievable that it just finds any word in the whole.
In a cursively written document, right? Okay, so let's go down here and see. Now, keep in mind the keywords we typed in, right? So it's going to have Michael Downey, Timothy, I found this when I was doing mine too, where some of the keywords were related, but not the right guy.
But Michael Daniels is from, so that's more like the first one.
Oh, is it? So should we look at this one? Okay, so they're giving a disclaimer here. Okay, but again, isn't it kind of cool that they're highlighting all of this stuff for you and that it has been,
It's done too.
yeah,
But you can quickly go through that stuff and see, hey, where this in or.
yeah. And if there's errors in it, you actually can go look at the, yeah. Okay, well,
You want information.
okay,
Just have fun.
just for fun. Okay, some keywords, or do you want to just start with the name?
Eliel.
Spell
Eliel. Melton, M-E-L-T-O-N,
M-E,
M-E-L-T-O-N,
okay,
Texas. 1830.
1830, give me a range. Want to just do
1800, 1832.
1832? Is that right? Is this one we should look at? A deed record?
Yeah,
The year's not quite right. Because this one's a year outside of the ones that you did.
Did you want him to click on that first one?
Yeah, we can go back and look at it.
Yeah, cause
That's probably the same.
no, it's not, cause he was killed at the Alamo in
Oh.
1836, so I know he was dead back then. I just wanted to see what it'd bring up. But I'm sure it's one of his descendants. That's pretty amazing.
He is awesome.
Okay, so again, this is not something that's hidden. All you need to do is go to those the labs and view experiments, and then you can get in and you can play with this yourself. So this is something that might be of help. Now, the information I said did say that they've got billions of these unindexed records. And they've got, I kind of interpreted what they said by saying that they had about 100 million of them available. But if all it takes is sending it to some computers and telling it to work on it to get them available, I don't imagine it'll take very long before they've got a lot more available.
Now, if you click on the source box, will it tell you where that record's available to see the real thing? Or where it came from?
It's gonna add it, and it's gonna add it to my personal source box, or it'll take me to my personal source
It could
box.
be from probably the county.
Yeah.
That's even better.
Some of them are available, but they don't really let you touch them.
Is it just the document or the interpretation summary?
Yeah, how did it get Texas out of that? That's a good one. Because it says the state of Texas. It probably figured this out and said, okay, this next word has to be one of 50 words. So which one is it?
Data.
Right?
A lot of times they hired the wives of prominent men who had died. And they all had beautiful flowery handwriting. So hard to read, but it gave them a job so they could support their family.
Yeah.
It's mostly women.
Okay, well, I'm going to turn the recording off for this. And we will end it here, and I'll be happy to answer any further questions or show anything that you would like at this point. So thanks for being here.